right, we're live. Welcome. Welcome. Happy holiday weekend to folks here in the US. Don't worry too much about which weekend that is. It's just a holiday weekend. That's all it is. Thank you for visiting. I see Wetness before we've even started. Wetness says, Happy Thanksgiving giving. Thank you so much, Wetness. It's always such a joy to have you here. I'm always so appreciative when you stop by. And, yeah, hopefully we'll get to chat a little bit today. There's a lot to chat about. Just in case you're not familiar with what I'm mentioning in the title, that is sort of the focus of today's stream is a brand new, as of Wednesday, a brand new animation app called Procreate Dreams. And I have it, and I've been messing around with it, and I will mess around with it a little bit on stream later on as we continue to talk, but we'll get to that eventually. There are some things to say there. Some good and bad based on my limited experience with it thus far. But before any of that, yeah, we're just hanging out. We're just hanging out. We're just having a nice, relaxing day. Thankfully, I have had the day off of work. So off of paid work. I'll still do other stuff today. But anyway. But yeah, how are you doing? How are you doing, folks? If you are in the States, did you have a relaxing, a reasonably relaxing day yesterday? The cat is nudging the boards as usual, so I apologize if there's any noise there. Also, in a fun twist that I did not consider when I scheduled this stream out, the crew that's been doing, it must be extremely extensive contractor work in the apartment directly above mine for literally the past month were apparently working yesterday and have decided to work today as well. And, you know, I'm not going to tell them what to do, but it is incredibly inconvenient to have, like, power tool sounds reverberating through the apartment while I'm trying to, you know, talk on a microphone. So I apologize. I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't think about that. Normally when I stream, it's the end of the workday, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to skip this song because it's way too stressful. This is a good one. This is one I use in the videos nowadays. Whatness says, so the Luffy balloon at the cat's in the way of the chat. Thanks. Thank you, cat. I wish there's no room for your bed. I need the iPad here. I'm sorry. Where could I put your bed? You want to sit down here? You want to sit over here? I don't think there's anywhere else I could put the iPad. I don't know. I know. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Yes. Yes, thank you. Sorry, I will finish reading this comment. Also, again, welcome, Wetness. Thanks for being here. Wetness says, so the Luffy balloon at the Macy's parade got ripped by a tree. Good news, the broadcast said his name right, so that's good. I didn't hear about, I did not hear about the balloon getting ripped. I would have figured they kind of planned for that stuff, unless the wind was just insane or something. But I did hear about it. I haven't seen the footage yet, but it is funny. I was talking with my folks yesterday, and you know, just checking in, happy Thanksgiving, talking for a little bit, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we caught some of the parade, and they had this new balloon we'd never heard of," and I was like, "Is it Monkey D. Luffy?" And they were like, Yeah, what is that? So I got to, explain the basics at the very least. I was like, yeah, it's like the biggest one. It's like the biggest anime, basically. But I assume it was classic Luffy, right? It's not like edgy modern Luffy, I don't think. What it says, do you have a second channel? Yeah. Last night I found a dude who makes videos about ads and stuff who looks like you. Yeah. I am surprised that that came up. I'm surprised it got recommended, but yes. I wasn't planning on, well, I guess I have mentioned it previously, not by name, but I have mentioned that I was working on some other videos. I hadn't really planned to cross-pollinate too much, but if you like it, I'm glad. I'm happy to hear that. What it says, it has the rim of his hat, so he's bucket hat Luffy now. Ah, okay, so it's a slightly modified version. This music's probably too loud. It's also too loud in my headphones. Anyway, what else we got? Yeah, so as usual, I want to run through just a bit of the news here. Not that this is especially serious news, but apparently there was some bad reporting. There were some assumptions on the part of the Telegraph. They were like, well, the company, the place that makes the clay that Aardman uses for their movies is shutting down, so therefore they'll probably will stop making movies soon. It's like very dumb. And even the response, Aardman's response is like, don't worry, we have it figured out. We've known about this for a long time. And I think the response was very classy as well here. But beyond that, like, I would have an incredibly hard time believing that you can really only ever use one type of plasticine clay in all of your productions ever. Like, I I have worked with plasticine clay. I was using plasticine for the Moral Oral video, which I think is still the top video on the channel. But like, I get that art materials vary a lot in terms of their quality, and there are differences between the high end stuff and just like commercial or not customer grade kind of stuff. I really doubt that people would notice any kind of serious difference if they got a slightly different type of clay from a different brand. It just seems completely insane to me. So anyway, I guess that's kind of a light-hearted news item here. And of course, we're all still waiting for Dawn of the Nugget coming out next month on December. Also, Wetness, obviously we can chat a little bit about the Scott Pilgrim anime at long last, although I'll say here at the start, I've only watched one episode. I only watched the first episode, so I can't, I'm not gonna do some kind of big review or something right now, or really get into the details, but I did at least dip in. I also don't have my own Netflix account right now, so it's kind of dodgy when I can actually, watch things on there. So yeah, only one episode, but feel free if there's anything you would like to chat about with that one, go ahead and let me know. We don't have to go into it, but I do think this is a very funny headline here. Tech giants say that users of their software should be held responsible for AI copyright infringements. How brave. What a courageous stance to take. Is that people using their software for copyright infringing works are indeed infringing on copyright. They are not implying at all that they should be held responsible for, developing and releasing the tools that make that infringement possible. They're also not commenting on the literally historic levels of copyright infringement that has made generative AI technology possible in the first place. But they're happy to say that people making silly parodies of copyrighted properties should get in trouble for it. What a time. What leadership we're seeing. Okay, Cat, not on the iPad. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What else? A couple other things. Wish. I'll touch on this briefly, I suppose. Obviously, I haven't watched the movie. Is it even out yet? Or was this opening weekend now? Witness says, I watched up to episode 4 of Scott Pilgrim, I assume. I have my opinions on how it went. As Brian said, it's its own story. If you want the original, read the original. Both good and bad. It has its core themes, but in a different way. Yeah, very funny that he would commented on it being different from anything, because that was probably my single biggest sticking point with at least the first episode, that it seems to have an incredibly slavish devotion to the movie specifically. Like, it almost felt shot for shot. And it was shot for shot for certain sequences and scenes. And I did not find that appealing really at all. Like, I don't understand why. And I mean, it's in the casting too. Like, if you get basically the entire original cast of the movie to do the voice acting here, I guess that was a pretty good hint that they would be heavily basing this off of the movie. Also, Edgar Wright's involvement, of course, is another ingredient that contributes to that, right? But I was kind of shocked at how similar it was and how flat so much of that repetition fell for me. Like, it really wasn't working. And Michael Cera in particular, it's not like I felt he was trying to sound like cool and disaffected. He sounded actively bored to me. And it could be some of the mixing or something. I don't know. Something about the way the voice acting plays out in this one, I just was really not working for me. And there's also a whole separate discussion to have about whether screen actors, should be expected to immediately translate to voice acting. Like, it is a different thing. This has been talked about many times before. It's not just... It's been a critique of celebrity voice acting too. We can talk about Garfield as well. Like, just because you're an actor does not mean you are also a good voice actor. Like, it's not completely transferable. You can be, there are plenty of examples of people who successfully do both. But anyway, so again, I don't think I want to get too deep into that, and I don't feel that I should, because I haven't watched the whole show yet. So, there it is. But yeah, episode 1 wasn't quite doing it to me. Wetness says, I love the original cast, but some of them aren't good voice actors. I don't know. And like, yeah, I mean, I despite what I just said, I hesitate to just come out and say, oh, this person's bad. Like, I don't want to just, oh, they're definitively bad, because there are other factors, and there's also direction. It also comes down to voice direction in certain cases. Maybe the direction was bad for some, and I don't know. But anyway, visually, I like the... I do like a lot of aspects of it visually. I obviously, episode 1, they basically just tease a fight, the fight with Matthew Patel. So we didn't really get any action in the first episode, and that's what I've been waiting for, and that's one of the biggest strengths of a lot of anime, I think, is crazy action scenes. So I can't even judge that yet. But otherwise, just character designs, very close to the graphic novels, of course. And beyond that, colorful. I love the palettes they're choosing for different environments and, dream sequences and things like that. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's something. So yeah, I would like to finish it up, and check it out in full, but not yet. And then I can get deeper into it later on, whether that's a video or in another stream or something like that. Okay, so let's see what some of the reactions have been to Wish. This is certainly one that I've been curious about at the very, very least. We've talked before about how this represents pretty much the big step of Disney, and potentially Pixar will follow, into, I don't want to call it a trend, but this somewhat recent development of major Hollywood animation studios doing an excellent job of integrating 2D art styles, influences, looks into 3D environments, on top of 3D models and all that. That is the most interesting aspect by far to me about this movie, just based on the trailers. But let's take a look. Obviously, from the headline, it sounds like it's not doing incredibly well for the critics. That does not have any bearing on the general audience reaction, that we'll see in the weeks to come, or the financial success. I mean, that's the same thing. But let's see. But yeah, again, boy, were they betting heavy, saying like this is the movie for the 100th anniversary, the centennial celebration of Walt Disney. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right, so let's see. There are two things that most of the available reviews agree on. The animation is incredible, and the story is not. You know what? This is something I've complained about plenty of other times. This sentence, to me, basically summarizes, at the very least, contemporary American animation, or even more specifically, contemporary American Hollywood studio animation. There doesn't seem to be all that much of an interest in advancing things in terms of storytelling. There has been, of course, progress on the level of diversity representation. Yes, there has been legitimate progress on that front. But in terms of the stories themselves, how the stories are told, no, it just, a lot of it ends up feeling like repetition of decades and decades worth of previous movies and movie storytelling. So that's very funny. It's interesting to see that sentence kind of lay it all out so succinctly. But yeah. While the studio isn't the first to explore a more stylized approach to CD animation, I would argue they're kind of the last at this point. The consensus is that they've done it as well as anyone with Wish. Regarding the film's narrative, most critics agree that Wish feels more like a 90-minute long Disney propaganda product than an original piece of storytelling. Whoa! Okay. And okay, it was 48% when they published this, which is yesterday. Should we take a look, see if that number has moved at all? Also, by the way, the Scott Pilgrim anime is getting incredibly favorable reviews here so far. Okay, it's up to 50. How about that? And as I was sort of expecting, general audiences are more than fine with what this is. I also have an assumption that I think they were promoting this as the songwriting team. So not the composers of the score, but the songwriting team for the musical numbers, I think, is basically the same team that did the numbers for Frozen. So obviously that's another key area now for modern Disney movies. Not so much Pixar movies, obviously. But hey, if one of the songs from this movie takes off in a way anywhere close to how Let It Go took off, then that would almost be enough, right? This seems like a good little snippet. Let's read this. Disney's Wish is the most aggressive piece of Disney propaganda in years. Sure, they all are to a certain extent, but films like The Lion King or even Encanto stand on their own as stories, whereas Wish feels more closely tied to the history of the Mouse House and the power of imagination that fans have found in it than anything the company has ever produced. It's not just the abundant references to everything from Peter Pan to Mary Poppins to Bambi and beyond. References. Oh no. Oh no. But the sense that the entire production is about how we really need to keep wishing on not just stars, but Disney branded ones to make ourselves happy. Woof. All right, Brian. Okay. Wow. Oh my gosh, the songs are catchy. There you go. In a consumable way that makes it hard not to notice how much they're imitating the Lin-Manuel Miranda school of verbal aggression wrapped in hooks. But there's no, we don't talk about Bruno or Let It Go here. Okay. All right. Why change a formula when it's a winning one? Thanks, John. Thanks for that. Lower your standards, he says. Why should filmmaking progress? Says John. What are you thinking? You want innovation? You want originality? What are you talking about? What? And it says, one thing I find ironic about the anime, they made Ramona a Netflix DVD deliverer, I think, right? Not an Amazon one, despite Netflix ending the delivery thing last month. Yes, I know it takes place in the 2000s. I still find it funny. That is funny. Yeah, I mean, also, appropriately, they switch that the prior scene of Scott Pilgrim ordering something off Amazon on his computer. He's just on Netflix, I guess. He's like lining up his DVD queue in Netflix. So yeah, but I don't know. I mean, that a lot of Netflix original series, animated or otherwise, are rife with that kind of stuff. I think they love to reference the fact they are on Netflix. Something a friend was talking about the other day, but also just like beyond self-referencey and meta joke stuff. I don't know. I guess there's still is it a sense of prestige? I'm thinking of the references in Tear Along the Dotted Line as well. They really want to specifically mention we're working with Netflix. We're on Netflix. I don't get the sense that Netflix has a lot of makes a lot of demands of the teams working on original shows. I've heard just the opposite, in fact. But it is weird how often that comes up. Like, is it just kissing the ring in a certain sense? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, well, we're done with this. We're done talking about Wish for now. Not sure whether I'll see that in the theaters or not, but yeah, there we are. And Trolls Band Together has a $30 million box office opening weekend. Okay, I didn't even know that it came out last weekend. I probably should have. What is this? The best U.S. weekend for an animated film since the second weekend of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, all the way back in early June. Wow, so a whole, what, like 6 months? Okay. All right, lots of qualifiers there. Trolls audience was 71% female, 34% under 17, and 31% between 18 and 34. Based on what kind of sample size? I don't think most theater chains collect that data, do they? It's just adult ticket, like you don't have an account. I would be very interested to look into this. I'd probably be boring on stream. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I've talked about Trolls quite a bit recently. I might actually see this one in the theater. It would be nice to do a double feature, wouldn't it? Hit Wish and Trolls just at the same time. Oh, Inspector Sun and the Curse of the Black Widow apparently didn't do very well. It only got about 700 grand. Not a small amount of money, but it did seem like a pretty big production. That one looked neat. I don't know. I kind of want to still see that. Maybe it'll be streaming in a couple days from now. That's fine. Cool. All right. Well, I mean, anything else? Any other news? Not really. I don't. It's a holiday week. I don't think there's been too much going on. A fourth Frozen film is in pre-production or production, I guess. So there you go. If you're into that. Uh, uh-huh. Yeah, Warner Music will use AI to recreate Edith Piaf's voice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. If there's one piece of if one piece, if there's one person you should just leave dead, you know, like let her rest now, please. Let her spirit. Why? Like why? Because there's money in it, Mike. That's why. There's no. Why ask? Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. Well, how about have you been watching anything else recently, Wetness? I'll try to get some of the animation stuff set up here, and try to come up with some kind of idea, I guess, to use there. Um, but yeah, have you been watching anything else recently? I don't know if you're into video games stuff too, but have you been playing anything recently? Anything new and exciting? I also did purposefully skip this this little article about the new Adam Sandler animated Netflix original movie about a class lizard iguana. And I guess it's a family film, which was not my initial impression. It sounded like an adult animation thing exclusively. Very strange. I have not, again, don't actually have Netflix right now, so I haven't watched it. But I can't say that I've been very interested to check it out. But yeah. Okay. Should we just give it a shot? Should we just... I mean, we're going to continue to chat, obviously. We're just hanging out. But yeah, I'll try to get the animation stuff set up. And I'll ramble, hopefully briefly, about it. Okay, so where do I have my... This should be iPad. No, you're plugged in. You're fine. You're not okay? It just... Okay. And yet again, it was A-okay before I started the stream. It was fine. It was totally fine. And now it's like, nah. Nah. What do you, what? What? Do I need some kind of permissions? Like what? What do you want? Oh my goodness. Oh, fun stuff. Also, briefly, I did look around earlier today for what is it called? Black Friday kind of stuff. I thought I might find something sort of interesting or good for gifting. I did not. I was very disappointed by what I saw online. Okay. Everything's plugged in. Do you feel like working now? Why not? Why? Why? Half an hour ago. No problem. Why now? Why? There. My goodness. I don't know why you're doing this weird border, but okay. What? No. What are you talking about? Sorry, I want to do one round real quick before we get started. But it says, I haven't seen it, but the actor playing Napoleon in Napoleon is mad. Critics are pointing out historical inaccuracies. So, yeah, it is a topic on its own. I don't know. I'm hesitant to really dig in. But no, I do have thoughts about it. It's something where, especially on YouTube, you see it a lot. And I would claim that Wired, even if they didn't originate this style of video, the expert video, they certainly popularized it. I know the language expert videos were massive when those first came around. And since then, they have invested so much in doing more of those kinds of videos where you get someone who's a supposed expert in a particular subject matter, and they look at movies and or video games and say, "Oh, that's not quite right." You know, "Oh, that's pretty accurate." Okay. And they continue to be popular, and specifically there are entire channels dedicated to talking about history, right? That go all in on that kind of stuff. They do tons of that sort of content. And I've personally gotten really tired of it. I guess, like, I on the one hand, I can appreciate that um, there's genuine educational value for one thing. It's a very, it's an old tactic to use pop culture as a way to talk about more important things, right? Um, but specifically, I with the history stuff, and certain channels that specialize in history videos, I have really started to hate it. And I think it's specifically when the whoever they call on as experts come across as like getting angry, basically, about the inaccuracies, and like, oh man, I can't believe this is so stupid that they did it this way or this way. And I don't know. I almost feel bad for them. It almost feels like just a really fundamental misunderstanding of entertainment, basically. Like, yes, accuracy can be an important part of a piece of entertainment. It is definitely not a consistent priority, and I don't think that it needs to be a consistent priority for a lot of movies or TV shows or video games, unless you are marketing your entertainment product as something that is 100% accurate, down to the last detail. Every single little thing is completely accurate, and we consulted with all these experts, and we really know what we're doing here. Unless that's your angle, there is no reason. There's no reasonable reason or expectation for that entertainment product to actually be, historically accurate. So it started to make me more frustrated as those types of videos continue to be so incredibly common. And it's not like all of them are popular across the board. It varies, of course. But there has been no deceleration just in terms of them being produced. There's so much of that stuff on YouTube right now. And I've definitely started to get tired of it a little bit. So anyway, that's an interesting angle for, the lead actor of a film to take, especially like, I guess that wouldn't be press junket if it was after the movie released. Usually press junkets are prior to release. But still, maybe it was an offhand comment, maybe it was a tweet. I don't know if you have more context witness, but either way, whether or not I agree, I think he's totally justified to say that. And another big one is, and I think this might have kicked off some of those kinds of videos, was a history buff's video about the movie Amadeus, the Milos Forman movie, which is I love that movie. I really love that movie. But I'm pretty sure that was a multi-million view video that they did about Amadeus and really got down into the details. And that is a famous movie for not being very accurate at all to the life of Mozart. And it really doesn't matter. That's at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter whether that movie is accurate or not. So especially if it's doing good in other areas, like if it is getting people interested in the source material, meaning, Mozart's music, Salieri's music, things like that, I really don't care whether or not it's accurate. And if I get a sense of arrogance on the part of the subject matter experts who are trying to talk about that accuracy, that's when I start to get a little frustrated with it. But anyway, that's a short rant, but thank you for mentioning that, Wetness. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, what else is going on? Are there other things coming out that I need to like really worry about? I feel like I ask that just about every week, and I almost never uncover things that I need to be worrying about in terms of new releases. But I do want to mention, I'll keep this very, very short. because there's a good chance that there's a good chance that I'll do a whole video about it. But the other day I did finally watch Across the Spider-Verse. Still not a good title. I don't think either of the titles are very good, but I did finally watch it. Didn't see it in theaters. I probably should have in retrospect, but I got sort of exhausted by the praise the movie received upon its initial release, so I slept on it. And long story short, yeah, it's I do think it deserves just about every little bit of praise that it received upon release. It is genuinely, an appropriately expanded and slightly evolved sequel. It could never have been as impactful as the first movie in terms of influence, in terms of surprise, and its art direction and execution. But what is there? Like there's not even the slightest hint of phoning it in. There's no hint of, oh, we didn't want to try too hard with this one. Maybe to its detriment. Maybe it even feels like it tries a little bit too hard at times. That said, I do think there's still plenty of room for criticism. Like, no, but by no means is it a perfect movie. By no means is it a perfect animated movie, whatever. There are problems, and some more of those probably should have been brought up over the summer. But my word, just in terms of the visuals, that alone is really an accomplishment, and such a joy to experience, at least if you're not like epileptic, I guess. Like I don't think someone with epilepsy could even watch the movie, right? Way too much at every single point. I think it would just be downright dangerous, right? There's no way. There's no way you could watch that movie, which is sad. But it's fantastic. Yeah, it's yeah. So anyway, we'll see. I would kind of like to do a video about it, despite the fact that the discourse has long moved on. We're in other areas by now, but I would like to. Yeah. Okay, well, this round is just about over. When it says, take Oppenheimer, for example, is accurate, but not 100%. Yeah, but I think that one had the benefit of just, like, it's accurate enough, It's accurate enough, it seems to take itself very seriously. And so, as a result, I could just see them kind of getting a pass on a lot of that, right? They were like, oh, it's effective, a good drama, generally, things like that. Let's just cap this off. Thank you. Anyway, but yeah, no, I still haven't seen Oppenheimer either, and I'm not especially interested in doing so. I don't really want to. It doesn't seem especially appealing to me, just in terms of my, my preferences. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. Custom? Will this ruin everything? Yeah, it will. Yeah. So the problem is when I adjust this to the correct aspect ratio, because iPad has a weird aspect ratio, it disappears from my OBS screen and I can't get it back. So when I do this, it's gone. There's no way, as far as I can tell, to get it back. It just doesn't come back. So unfortunately, I think we are going to have to deal with these ugly sidebars here. I apologize, but it's okay. I'm also not expecting people to, pay super close attention to the animation part, or I hope they don't, because I am not a professional by any means, and not just with animation. Pretty much anything. Not really an expert. Not a professional. Cool. All right. So What can we say? Okay, background. Over here, this is a piece of software called Procreate, kind of an unfortunate name. But it is a digital art app, only on iOS, Apple devices. And it's a very good app. I love it. It was recommended to me by some friends who actually know what they're doing in terms of visual art stuff. I fell in love with it. It's not expensive. I even went so far as to recommend it for people getting into animation, that if you had an iPad, this is a fantastic program with which to try it out, basically. So as we see here, it has a very basic animation feature. You just change one setting here, and you say animation assist, and it splits the layers up into frames and plays them in sequence, which is the absolute bare bones fundamentals of any animation program. And, simple stuff, looping, change the frame rate, obviously, and onion skinning, of course, as well, although it's hard to see in this particular animation. But onion skinning is what allows you to see what was in the previous and future frames, so you can line everything up, make changes as needed, things like that. So Procreate is excellent, and especially with its range of brushes, all bitmap based as far as I know, which is in contrast to vector based animation programs like, well, it used to be called Flash, now it's called Adobe Animate. So years ago, when I was getting into animation, I could never find the right software to do it. I was just doing it literally with pens and paper, because all the software was so frustrating. And even when I did learn Adobe Flash, that was frustrating too, because I wasn't drawing directly on the screen. I had an external USB tablet, and people get really good with those. I can't. It's too much of a disconnect for me to line up and be like, okay, if I do this, this is how it will appear on the screen. It's too much. So that's just something to mess around with. It's fun. Dreams is a whole different thing. Dreams is a whole other kettle of worms. So before we jump in, I do want to read the comment here. What it says, went to the Dollar Tree yesterday, right? On Thanksgiving, they were open. They had Spider-Man 3 for $5 USD, but for $6, right next to it was Spider-Man 1 through 3. Who would buy just 3 for $1 less? Well, that's, you have to be a savvy shopper, right? There are lazier shoppers out there who wouldn't even think about that. You know what I mean? Was this in the US? Are you in the US? Sorry. Okay. So, a couple months back, the team behind Procreate says, hey, by the way, we are going to be releasing a full-fledged animation app, again, just for Apple devices, and it's implied that iPad is really the platform where you want to use it, as opposed to anything else. You could use it on your phone. It would not be a great experience. And I was into it. Obviously, I'm already a fan of Procreate, so there was a positive bias there. But on top of that, one of the key things that I do miss from using actual animation software on a PC is being able to animate and keyframe to sound, which is obviously incredibly important if you're doing anything with sound whatsoever. If you were trying to sync to voice acting, for example, or doing a music video or anything, most animated work is synced to some sort of sound track or multiple sound tracks. That feature alone, just being able to animate to sound, was immediately appealing to me. We even get audio previews as we scrub. Sorry for that sound. It's probably rough. So I knew I was going to buy it. Also, by the way, this app is $20, 20 US dollars, flat fee, no subscription, which is beyond incredible in the current climate, that you can just buy a piece of software and have it, presumably forever, for however long it actually runs on contemporary devices. And I'll talk a little bit about my experience with it so far, which has indeed been a mixed bag, at least based on the limited experience. But before that, let's go ahead and watch. They give us, basically sample projects. They commission sample projects from professional animators, and this is one of them. And I think it's worth taking a look and seeing on the timeline here at the bottom how everything plays out, how everything kind of comes together, and how they want this to be used, more or less. Let's check this out. The audio is a little messy because of the capture, but you're at least getting the idea. Okay. Oh, and that's it. It's just a short loop. But either way, like, pretty cool, right? Like, fantastic backgrounds, lovely character designs and animation. It looks great. So, and they do the same thing when you get Procreate for the first time. They're like, here's what people who know what they're doing can do. You should try it. So there are a few of those samples. But unfortunately, when I actually dove in to the program itself and tried to get started with it, and first of all, I couldn't. I immediately needed a bunch of tutorials, which is fair enough, but that was not the case with Procreate. In contrast, you can just dive right in. You get it. It's very intuitive. This, not so much. So that's one thing. Wetness clarifies dollar store, not tree. Okay. And yeah, they were open. Okay, hey. All right. I mean, I get not everybody, celebrates the holiday. I'm not saying everybody should. But just in general, having a chance to take a day off is such a gift. I was a little surprised to hear that they were still open. Okay. And even this, like, how about this? I'll give the game away a little bit. There's an animation project. Well, for one thing, I'm going to talk for a while. If obviously, if you're watching live, feel free to interrupt me and mention anything else. But there's some background. My very first animation project ever was, I guess, 2015 or 2016. No, it was 2016. Okay. Hadn't moved to LA yet. I finished it in LA. And it was just pen and paper animation. I sliced 10-pound paper, a roll of 10-pound paper into little sheets, and it was very crude. But the whole premise was I did interviews with people about a particular subject, and I animated little sequences of, not of them talking, but just imagery that I thought kind of matched what they were talking about. Kind of a long project, too. I think the runtime was close to 10 minutes or something. So at a frame rate of, I don't know, 6... I feel like that was 6 to 8 frames per second. It was kind of a lot, and especially when I didn't know what I was doing really at all. It was a challenge, but it was a lot of fun. Learned a lot, and it got me more interested in animation generally, in actually doing it myself rather than just watching it. Ever since, I've been wanting to do another project where I could animate 2 interviews. I love other work that does that. World of Tomorrow, the Don Hertzfeldt shorts, do that with one of the characters. It's just interview clips with a little kid, and then he writes around it additional script. Or Creature Comforts, the Aardman series. It was originally an Oscar-winning short film from Nick Park, I think, and then they much later developed it into a full series, and I love that series. I was just watching it earlier today. It's absolutely one of my favorites. I could rewatch it for the rest of my life. So I've been wanting to do that for a very long time, and I even managed to do a couple of long interviews with people, I guess a couple years ago, and I've been chomping at the bit. I was like, okay, well, I have the audio. I can edit the audio. How in the world can I animate to that audio when all I'm using is Procreate? How? I can't just guess. I can't just guess to sync the audio to the video, or vice versa. This is the missing piece. I haven't gotten that far yet to actually put the audio in here and animate to it, or try to. This is the solution. So for better or worse, I have to make this work. Now, unfortunately, as I touched on a moment ago, I do not feel it is very intuitive. They are trying to keep it like the UI is extremely pared down. They're trying to keep it extremely simple visually. That does not mean that it's simple in terms of capabilities, but it does mean that a lot of stuff, if not the majority of features in here, are hidden away. And you just have to know. You just have to watch the tutorials. You just have to find out. You got to keep up with the updates to even know. So just playing around with it, I was like, oh, sure, I'll figure it out. It'll be no problem. Not the case at all. After watching a 20-minute tutorial, now I know a lot more. And now I know, okay, I tap here, and this is the stuff that's under filter, and you can keyframe certain filters. Or what else? I'm already forgetting some of it too. Yeah, so long hold, not on the timeline button thing here. And this is where a bunch of other features are. And a lot of these features only show up when you don't have any of these other modes or buttons selected over here, because this is edit mode, this is draw mode, this is another menu to add more tracks to the timeline. But on top of that, they are using gesture control so heavily here. More so than even just the standard iOS stuff. Like, we know pinch to zoom or zoom out. We know swipe. It's not difficult. Even hold for more contextual options. But here, it's like, okay, instead of a physical undo button, which I do not feel would be intrusive at all, it's a double tap. So here, let me just... No, come on. No, okay, I don't... Okay, can't paint on a group. Okay, I painted here. Usually there's an undo button off to the left. We don't have that anymore. 2-finger tap is now undo. Now, what is 3 fingers does something that I can't even remember right now. 3 fingers might be redo. Yes. 2 fingers is undo. 3 fingers is redo. And I believe what is 4 fingers? 4 fingers, I guess, is the special zoom. And so much more. There are so many gestures just with basic functions. And like, I know I will learn them. It'll be fine. And maybe even it'll feel cool and futuristic to be using all these gesture controls seamlessly and everything works exactly how I want it to. But it does feel to me just a little bit like overcomplicating by attempting to simplify. Like maybe there is some inherent value to just giving us a visible button that we can press, but they just, I don't know, they want it to do so much, and they're emphasizing the editing and the timeline aspect of everything so heavily, which is understandable. It's an important component. But I guess they just didn't feel that they had the real estate. They didn't have the screen real estate to include all these buttons for specific commands, or even to customize. Maybe they would add that later. Like, hey, tell us which buttons you want on the screen. So you're not doing 4-finger taps for everything. I don't know. Anyway, that's unfortunate. I'll get to my other big criticism in just a moment after I catch up here, because I'm sorry that I'm rambling so much and I don't want to disconnect from chat. But Whatness says, yesterday I found out that Boondocks are based off a newspaper comic strip. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Actually, in kind of a weird twist, I only ever read the newspaper comic strip. I don't think that I ever... I haven't watched it. I don't think I've watched any of those. But I did read the strip for many years growing up because, you know, this is going to sound very outdated now, but we did used to get the, for years, we used to get the Sunday newspaper, but also the daily newspaper for a while too. And all I cared about for a long time, even into like high school maybe, I just cared about reading the comic section. And I loved it. It was, especially the serial comics, it was fun to follow along. You know, they had the Spider-Man daily serial in there. What was it? what's the one? It's like a sort of dramatic cartoon strip, for better or worse, something along those lines. It's about a family, couple get married, they have kids, and it did develop over time, as I think loosely based on the creator's real life, right? That stuff was cool. Also, just the episodic ones are cool. Pearls Before Swine was great. Um, uh, we didn't get The Far Side. Our newspaper did not have that one. But what's the other one? There's a really good one panel comic from the old days. Not the old days. I mean, early 2000s into 2010s when I was reading it. Bizarro? Might just be Bizarro. That was a great one. Anyway, long story short, I was big into the daily comic strips. Sunday strips were even better because they were actually in color. But yeah, Boondocks was there forever. That was always there, and I kept up with that one too. I just somehow, or for some reason, never transitioned to actually watching the cartoons. Seems kind of strange. But what do you think, Witness? Now that you know about that, do you think you would go back and read some of the comics? I assume you can find a lot of them online, right? And if not, I'm sure they have tons of collections and like cheap used books and things like that. But do you think you would be into that? But yeah, I was a big comics guy for a long while there. Even Garfield. I had a couple of Garfield books and loved them. I thought it was a great time. And then that eventually, sorry, I don't know why I'm pointing as if you can see, but I did later develop into an affection for, other forms of comics, I guess what are sometimes called lit comics, or and manga stuff too, of course. More serious work from a certain angle. But yeah, pretty much always love comics, and I think I see so many parallels to animation too. So it's an easy jump, It just kind of makes sense at a certain level. But yeah. Anyway, okay. Now, how can I illustrate this properly? This is an important point. I'm doing some actual reporting here. This is some real reviewing. I'm not going to I don't think I'll be making a video about this. So if you've managed to make it to the stream or the archive version of the stream, this is actually a good part to pay attention to. I think I'll have to show it on the physical, ignore the keyboards in the background. Okay, so for context, let's go to Procreate here. Just open up whatever. A random doc. Okay, we have a brush selected, we have a color. There it is. Oh, it's very hard to see on that screen. Darn. Let's see. Can we get it? Okay, so as I move my stylus, this is a cheap stylus, by the way. This is not the Apple Pencil. It tracks perfectly, which is why the lines look so ugly. Like, it's incredibly accurate down to the pixel. It follows the whole time. Now, let's hop over to Dreams. Here we are on the canvas. This is the part where I can draw things. I am drawing. Don't worry, it's active. The stylus is turned on. So not only did it detect a small portion of the full line that I just drew, it does not appear live as you draw. Okay? Now, not a huge deal if you're doing like super small, little strokes, little texture kind of stuff, right? Here we go. This is a great building here with a little antenna, windows here. It's kind of okay. And you probably could get used to it this way. Again, I was talking about those old USB external tablets where you don't get to see it on the tablet itself. You just it just translates to the screen as you're drawing. But anyway, point is, it does not update live. There's a pause. And I thought this was strange because, well, I should keep it here. Check this out. Here's my finger. Finger updates live. My finger, which cost substantially less than the stylus, well, arguably, works just fine. However, drawing with a stylus in these digital art programs, or drawing with a finger rather than a stylus, is not desirable. That is not a thing you want to do. There are tons of benefits to using the stylus, right? So basically, oh, sorry, I should finish the thought. This was really confusing to me because earlier today, when I was watching a tutorial video, and a pretty good video tutorial, this guy with his Apple Pencil, his $120 stylus, was drawing in Dreams, and it was updating as he drew. It was updating live. There were no issues. So I was just completely confused. It's very strange, and even this specific point is almost a deal breaker, unfortunately. Like, it is an issue that it almost takes away the benefit of using this type of program at all on a tablet, because it's so nice to get the responsiveness. It's so great to be able to see right away how your line's going, how the painting is going, whatever it is. Not having that is a big detriment to me. So I did a little bit of digging, and I did find some stuff here. Here is what I found. Because initially what I found out was, okay, well, you just need the Apple Pencil. With the Apple Pencil, it works just fine. Apparently, it's no big deal. But I was like, okay, but basically necessitating for your users to buy a $100 to $120 stylus to get the full effect of your $20 app was completely insane to me. And almost disrespectful on a certain level. But I looked around, and thankfully a lot of other people have been active, with this app already. They've been looking into it, they've been doing their own things with it. Here's what I got. This was great. Someone on Reddit was saying, okay, this is weird, I'm using my stylus. They might have even been using an Apple Pencil and it wasn't working. The same thing that I just showed was happening. It wasn't updating automatically as you drew. And confused. They did the work for me and reached out to customer support. I wish I could we zoom in on this? Yeah, they reached out to customer support, and this is the response we got. Well, you will have a better experience in Procreate Dreams with a pressure-sensitive Apple Pencil. Yeah, thanks so much. We are for sure hoping to fix up this third-party stylus issue in the very near future. I don't have an accurate time frame, but it's one of our biggest priorities at this point. We will definitely be continuing to update and patch issues in Procreate Dreams prior to Christmas, too. So... So there you go. There's some journalism for you. I guess it's weird for them to use the word hope. But I guess this is on their, it's on their docket. There's a ticket for this. I'm incredibly thankful, but I'm also confused. I just have to assume that the entire development team, I think the company has a very close relationship with Apple, which would explain why it's an exclusive program for Apple devices, right? I assume everybody has an Apple Pencil on the team. I don't even think, I don't even know if there was any testing involved with third-party styluses that cost less than $120. So still bad. Still bad and still genuinely disappointing, especially on day one. Like, I've been so excited for this, and like I said earlier, I've even been plugging this thing before I tried it out. I was like, I'm so excited. It's going to be great. You should look into this too, other people who are into animation. So yes, thankfully, it does sound like we'll get a fix relatively soon. But in the meantime, it's just a much more difficult program to use. And it's not fun to be guessing at how your line will actually work out. It's just not. So I guess what I'll do today, and I'm not, I'm not going to be doing an entire project or anything. But I guess I'll just use my finger like that. I'll just go caveman here. I'll just use my finger. Even this, okay. Small gripe. The 4K box here is a button. This is an active element. I honestly did not get that sense just from looking at it. It just looks like, here you go, 4K widescreen. But no, they're not going to tell you, but it is. Your hint is that the other icons are, but again, didn't feel especially intuitive to me. Okay, but let's stop whining about it. Let's see if I can remember how to set up the most basic flipbook animation and maybe like a really basic background, just so we have something, right? Just so we have some kind of activity here, and you guys have something to look at. Anyway, anything else? Anything else folks want to chat about? Okay. So is this track not a drawing track automatically? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so let's see if I remember. I have a drawing track here. It's active. That's fine. I think I have to do this to get to flipbook. Flipbook is not automatically a flipbook, though. It just holds a single frame indefinitely. So you have to know to tap here. Then we get a plus icon. Probably could just be there, but whatever. And you press plus every time for a new frame. Which again is what, what the original offered. That's what we had at the start in Procreate. So I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Let's see something. How about a tree? Why not a tree, right? Maybe some kind of dancing Christmas tree or something. That color seems fine. Size. Okay. And even this, can I move this guy? I can't. Good. Just seems in the way. Okay. I wish I could dock it up here or something. Can we do that? No. Okay. All right. Free stage. Oops. Yeah. It's there. It's there. And then do we have... Okay, we do have another frame. We don't have our onion skins on by default. I hope I can change that as well at some point. But there we go. So that shows us our previous frame. Absolutely key to animation in general. So let's keep this line. What? No. Okay, so it activated the color picker without my consent. And now I don't know how to get the color picker again. What did I do? I just hold. I press and hold. So if I don't move my finger fast enough, it'll switch to color picker when I don't want it to. Okay. All right. Bad line, just, just please ignore for now. The point here is that I'm trying to just squish it down a little bit. Trying to have our Christmas tree squish. And then these lines will also come down to, let's say, here. Okay. And then there. Oh no, we're already messing up. Well, it's tough with squash and stretch anyway, but still. Oh, there's the construction work I was talking about. Thank you. bad. But again, just demonstrating it's fine. The day that I can successfully do some kind of animation stuff on the stream, that's a day to look forward to. You guys squashed too much on that initial frame. What do you think? Okay. These lines are okay. It'll look slightly better filled in, but it's still... Okay. So we have the most well, let's do a couple more, I guess. Sorry, let me get the music back going again, especially now that we have these lovely power tools upstairs. Music is here. Put that into VLC. There we go. Nice. All right. Cool. Yeah. Anybody else doing any Black Friday stuff? Any of that going on lately? Anything else? I mean, do we even call Cyber Monday a separate thing at this point? I guess not, right? It's all the same blurry thing. I know. I'm so tempted to go back for the stylus. It feels so uncomfortable to do this just with my fingers. No. I will say that I am legitimately starting to get better at the pinch. Not pinch. The double tap or 2-finger single tap. That is starting to feel a little bit more natural. There you go. Yeah, this is really bad. I apologize. But still. Want to have it jump up. Oh, we're running out of room, though. Trying to have it jump up further than before. But how about this? Just as the most basic loop possible. Look at that. That's not terrible. I mean, you know. Kind of is. But yeah. Point made. Let's do a really basic background now. So let's see if I can figure this out. Okay. We have our timeline. I would love for this track to be... Or can I move this track? I want this... Okay, can I move it in edit mode? No. Okay. Okay. Add track. I mean, it's not a video. It's not photos. Right? Track. But how... Okay, so it becomes a drawing track after I start drawing. Okay. Okay. How do I move the track? I would think edit mode would be the best possible way to... But there's... Okay, so track is totally empty. All right, I see. It's totally empty, so I just need something here. Please... Okay, I have to go back to draw mode. Something here that turns it into a drawing track. Now... Okay. Great. Okay, sorry. See, you know, we're getting there. I don't actually want this to be in flipbook mode, so hopefully... Oh, no, I just don't want the flipbook part specifically. I guess I just have to deal with that, though. It's just there. Okay. Yeah, like I said at the top, I tried with the Cyber Friday business goings on. I just... Nothing. And part of that is I always struggle, I think, to have just ideas for shopping for other people, especially, you know, family. I think I just struggle with that. Parents in particular, I do have an idea of what they like, but I never seem to know. I never seem to know what actually, you know, what would really be a good idea, what they would actually be into. And it shouldn't matter if we're going over the, you know, the edge of the canvas here. I think it should be fine. Like a deeper tone or maybe more neutral. Put this off to one side. Just so we have some kind of gradient when we smudge all this together. That'll be good. Something. Let's smudge away. I actually like stucco for smudge too, so let's try to grab that. Yeah, stucco's here. Okay. Larger. Okay. Like I said, just the most basic of background. Well, even it's a little less intense here. Okay, a little more intense. I want to see some kind of change. Yeah, no big Black Friday stuff. If anything, I've been doing a lot of just eBay browsing and shopping recently, mostly for retro gaming stuff. It's just a desire that emerges every once in a while to play some old games or get an old system or something. I somewhat recently got a Game Boy Advance SP, which I never had growing up, but always wanted very much as a kid. Things like that, but that kind of stuff obviously doesn't. That's not a Black Friday thing. That is not something that really goes on sale, right? So unfortunately, there's just not a lot out there that's been catching my eye. Yeah, this is okay. I'm just doing a very basic, sky. There's the horizon line there. What color should we do? I mean, obviously, kind of a snowy landscape, but I feel like it should be a little bit blue tinted. I always like that, especially in animation for holiday stuff or something, when they portray snow as more blue than stucco's not good for this because it adds other colors. Whatever. Oil. That also adding colors? What is going on here? How about just the most basic? Yeah, Blackburn's my favorite brush. Needs to be the right size though. Beautiful. Wow, we should add a little bit of variation, I guess. Sort of. I'll smudge it, but just sort of suggestion of gradient or shadows to one side. This is not the best. It's okay. Cool. All right. Stucco, what are you doing? I was just talking you up, Stucco. You know? And now you're just pushing me back towards Blackburn again and again. I don't like how blurry that is. Like, that's not an interesting texture to me for it to be super blurry. I guess it kind of works for snow. Oh, there we go. That's kind of nice to dab it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, where this like purple is coming from. I don't know what that's about. Okay. But there we have it. Yeah, we could do some more hills in the background or something, but the basic idea here is no. I want to go back to edit. I guess I hit done, and I want to make sure, yeah, this stays static as a background element, basically, right? And then I think, why is it so long? Oh my goodness. I guess it's automatically the length of the entire project? Okay. And then I'm supposed to, yeah, I grab at just the right spot. No. And I'll drag it all the way back. There we go. Okay. Okay. And now we have a static background. This is too fast, by the way. But unfortunately, I think... Let's see if I remember this. This is a crazy thing. Is it in edit mode? Yes. Edit mode, you draw a line not with your finger. That selects all. And then it should be from here that we can group. Unfortunately, I feel like once we group, we're not allowed to alter it anymore, so it's locked in, maybe. And I'm supposed to be able to change the speed? Yeah, so I guess if I just stretch it out, will that automatically change the speed of the sequence? I feel like no. No. Okay. So yeah, this is it's kind of summarizing, I guess. No, see that's not no. Filter? No, it's like speed wouldn't be a filter. Because again, like Procreate changed the frame rate on the fly. There's a menu right there on the timeline. Change the FPS to whatever you would like it to be, but I think it's now a project level thing. So could I do it from out here? No. Okay. Okay. Again, this is kind of summarizing a lot of the experience so far for me. I do not think it's a bad program at all. It absolutely is powerful in terms of overall features and functions and all that. And I will be using it. It is something that I will learn more about. I will continue to use it. I will continue to get better at using it. But I'm not there yet. And maybe I'm just being impatient. Maybe I am being a complete Neanderthal when it comes to my perspective on app design and UI design and all of those details. But I don't feel like it. I don't feel like these are crazy things to wish for this app. And again, yeah, just certain things about it. That one thing in particular of not live updating if you don't have the official Apple Pencil is pretty wild to me, and feels like an oversight. So, yeah, I'm sure it can do just about everything that I would ever want it to do. I will use it. I will have a great time using it, but for the moment, it's a little opaque, you know? Oh, we sort of split it here. I still don't see a way to change the speed. But yeah. Edit mode, do you think? Track options? No. Okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, the chat's not too active right now, so I guess I'll probably wrap up soon. Obviously, not a stellar animation. I might work on this, though. This could be fun. Have a little dancing Christmas tree. That could be nice. But yeah, so I'm not there yet. It's not my dream app quite yet. Dreams is just dreams for the moment. And yeah, I'll just have to do my homework for a while, basically. I'll just have to accept that I need to put a bunch of time into learning the software, and then also the time into progressing my animation skills themselves. So yeah, it'll happen, but so far, yeah, slightly disappointed. But really based on personal preferences and the equipment that I happen to be using. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, I think I'll just finish up the stream there. Again, I don't know if people aren't into the streams where I'm actually doing something, just let me know. Again, I'm always happy to just chat regardless of what we're doing on screen. Um, but but yeah, I've still enjoyed this. I've still enjoyed it, and again, it's a nice opportunity to chat about some of this stuff um, without feeling like, you know, it's stuff that I might not make a whole video about, but I still get to talk about it. I still get to say certain things and share my thoughts with all of you folks. So it's nice to do that every once in a while. Yeah, otherwise, we'll see. Yeah, I might do a Spider-Verse video just because relatively soon. I don't think I have a bunch of other videos planned out so far, but we'll get there. We'll get there, especially towards the end of the year. It's a very active time on YouTube, definitely. And people want stuff to watch while they're hanging out. So, cool. All right. I think I'll leave it there. Thank you so much to everybody who showed up for the stream live. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Wetness, for being active in the chat. Hugely helpful to me. Just keeping the stream going. And yeah, otherwise, yeah. Also, thanks to the people watching the archive later on. I appreciate you guys very much, too. But yeah, until next time, take it easy.